So in today's video, it might get slightly awkward. Quite honestly, my garage decor kind of says it all with the Z and Supra stuff hanging on the wall. And right in front of me, we have my manual transmission Toyota Supra and my spec 2023 Nissan Z Performance manual. This is the car that I was literally going to buy. I sold my white Toyota Supra about 2 years ago or so, and the goal was to buy the manual Z. I wanted a manual car again. Z had just come out. However, 2 months ago, I decided to buy the manual Supra instead, and now we have them back to back, my spec manual Z and my very own manual Supra. So we're gonna take a quick look at them sitting here and then drive them back to back and kind of give my ending thoughts over how these cars really compare. Of course, I decided to spend the extra money and get the Supra, but you know, there's still a lot to offer in the Z, and we're gonna go over all those in today's video. But I will say this blue color is amazing. This is literally what my Z was gonna look like. This blue color is so stunning on the car. But comment below, what do you guys think of the exterior design? I gotta say the Supra is beautiful. It is just so flowing. It's got all the right curves. The Z has a much more retro vibe, so certainly way different. And then if we take a look at the interiors, there's a big difference between the two interiors. So in the Supra, it's pretty nice in here. Got a lot of good refinements, really clean. And then in the Z, looks pretty nice, just as nice I would say. However, the refinement level is a little bit different, which we'll find out more when we are driving these back to back. In back though, the Nissan Z is stunning. Those taillights, the rear end is just amazing. Supra, equally as good looking. I really don't think either one is bad looking, especially from the back. All right, so setting off now. In the Nissan Z, first off, wow, that's quick. She is a quick car. Wow. So again, back to the backstory. I was in line to buy the Nissan Z. I was going to spec it in blue, manual performance. I was going to go blue interior though. It was about an 18-month wait, and I still just really never got anywhere. There was no information on the car coming. My friend at Toyota had a manual Supra pop up for sticker, and for the price difference, it's about a $6,500 price difference. I just couldn't say no, and I bought the Supra instead. This car that we're sitting in, the MSRP is about $54,000. My car was $59,000, give or take a couple $100 on both cars. So the price difference, honestly, at this level, really isn't all that much. I know I talked about that a lot in my videos before I even bought the Supra, and it's still money at the end of the day. However, just didn't make too much of a difference. So we're gonna kind of drive this car, then hop in my car, and then talk about the differences and similarities and why you would buy this over the Supra and why you would buy the Supra over this. My first initial impressions, these seats are still not my favorite. They're really short on your leg. I'm just so on top of the seat. I just don't like the seats all too much. I really loved my Nismo 370 with the bucket seats. They were phenomenal seats. This, you just feel like you're so on top of it. You do have really good visibility. Like the glass around is huge. I mean, you can see out so well for a smaller car like this. It does kind of make you feel, again, like you're on top of the car rather than really sunken into it. So it's a much different perspective. The shifter also, again, you know, compared to the Supra, it's not as pinpointy. It feels a little wobbly. I will say the power, though, this is a fast car. I don't care what people say about drag racing this against the Supra. This thing moves. And they dyno about 380 to the wheels, so they make more than 400 horsepower, quite honestly. Another thing with the Z, there's nothing adaptive or active, so when you're taking turns, there's no like stiffer suspension mode or anything. It's all fixed. Steering does feel pretty good. There is a little bit of body roll, and you can feel the weight. This is about 200 pounds more than the Supra. So I certainly feel that. Another thing, the interior refinements, it's actually really not that bad. It's pretty nice in here, a big step up from a 370Z. Steering wheel does feel a little big, so I'm not really hunkered into the car. I'm more kind of just like sitting in the car. So it doesn't quite give you that same feeling that the Supra does. The clutch pedal does have pretty good feedback, and it's pretty forgiving as well. This really isn't a hard manual if you're going to be learning how to drive stick shift or something like that. So first initial impressions, not that bad. The biggest things I'm firstly taking away, it doesn't feel as nice as the Supra. The seats aren't as nice. Power seems plentiful, and just the handling feels a little big, just a little on the heavier side. And I kind of feel, honestly, almost a little cramped. I feel like my knees are hitting the steering column with the steering wheel the way I want it. So I just feel like I can't sink into the car quite as well. Alright, so we are now hopped into the Supra. I gotta say already, these seats are so nice. They go all the way up my leg. I am so cradled in these seats. Wow, this is a nice car. I'm not just tooting my own horn, but wow, this is a nice car. You know, the power doesn't hit you as quick. The Z really just kind of was slow and then just crazy power. This is a little bit smoother delivery, but it doesn't feel any faster, I would say. They honestly feel about the same. But so far, the biggest things, this car just feels so nice, so refined. I am sitting down in the car, a little bit smaller windows that I like a lot. I feel like I don't know, I feel like I'm in a race car. The Z feels too open to me, to where it feels like a normal car. This makes me know I'm in a performance machine. It feels so nice. And again, I'm not trying to be biased because I obviously put my money towards this car. But wow, this car has the wow factor, and that's what sold me on going for the Supra instead of the Z, because the Nismo Z is the one that I think will fit my taste better and have that wow factor. I feel like the normal Z Performance that we're looking at, it's a little soft compared to a Supra. The Supra in sport mode, my gosh. The way this takes a turn is insane. It is so flat. Gosh. Wow. Like, I'm not trying to be biased, but wow. The way this handles and the refinement level is a huge step up. And I think that is, to me, what's worth that $6,000 price difference. You know, I was kind of fighting that when I first experienced the Z after selling the Supra. But the more I kind of drove other cars, it is very well worth it, and I like what the Supra already has to offer. The manual already is a huge difference too. I love the little bit smaller shift knob on this car. Everything about it feels slimmed down and a little bit more engaging and driver focused. Gosh. I'd say speed-wise is about the same. The Z kind of feels faster just because there's turbo lag and then it really hits you. This is a little bit smoother. So power-wise, I don't have an issue with either car, and they both make really good power with modifications and tuning. I mean, they both make over 500 to the wheels pretty easily. Gosh, the shifter on this is just a step up though. And there is no body roll whatsoever. I'm in normal mode too. In sport mode, there's even less no body roll. Wow, driving these back to back, there truly is a big wow factor difference. Gosh. I mean, this is a car that would honestly run up against a BMW M2, which I recently compared, a GTS Porsche Cayman, which is a nearly six-figure car. This really does feel like that. This is incredible. I'm really, really glad I bought the manual Supra. Wow. Wow, this car. I know I sound like a super fanboy being an owner, but no, there's a big difference. Let's hop back in the Z now, because it's really interesting to go back and forth, but goodness gracious, the Supra is insane. So back in the Nissan Z. Yeah, so feeling out that acceleration again. They definitely feel the same in acceleration. This one just has a little lag and then it really hits you. So I'd say about the same, just the Supra is a little smoother actually when you're really ripping on it. Biggest thing I notice is just the seats. I just can't quite get as comfortable in this. I feel too tall in this car, which is weird. I'm 5'11", slender body type, so it's not like I'm that big or anything, but I just feel like I'm so big in this car. So that is a big thing, and it just doesn't feel as hardcore, pinpointy, high performance. It just feels like a nice updated 370Z. Basically, if you took the 370, new technology, and a really nice twin turbo motor, that's basically what this is. It kind of feels like that. It still is a great car, and I don't want to hate hate on it because we're living in a world where EVs are taking over. The fun factor is dying. The fact that Nissan brought this out with a manual, no questions asked, that to me is a huge thing. You can just tell the Supra is a huge step up in performance. And power isn't everything. While they're about the same in power, the handling, the mechanical shifter feeling is a big difference. The interior refinements, definitely way different, the seat comfort, stuff like that. So with that said, why would you buy the Nissan Z over the Supra, and why would you buy the Supra over the Z? Let's start with the Supra, because I literally did that. And keep in mind, I own a GTR and I've owned two 370Z, so it's not like I don't like these cars. So the biggest thing was the fact that the Supra's refinement is unreal. When you hop in it, it feels like a $60,000 car all day long. People who've never been in the Supra, when they hop in it, they think it's something even more expensive. The BMW intervention in the Supra is amazing. It makes the car feel so nice. The seats, they hug me like a bucket seat does, and yet they're insanely comfortable. And the refinement level, it just feels really nice. On top of that, I didn't drive the manual before I bought it, but I just knew it'd probably be pretty good. I am pleasantly surprised. The manual in the Supra is one of the best manuals I've driven. It's so notchy, it's so driver focused, perfect amount of feedback. It's just insane. Another thing is the handling. You know, it's a slimmed down version of this car. It's got the active suspension, steering, differential. This has some body roll, just a little bit of that feeling to it. It's still a great handling car. Supra is better handling. So for me, the $6,000 was very well worth it to get a more refined car, better seats, and much better handling. Now, why would you buy the Z? The Z does have better visibility. You don't feel like you're in that hunkered down sports car. I like that, of course, but this one, you know, some people like feeling a little bit more open, and this does that. You have a lot of glass around you. You feel like you can just see around over your right shoulder, better visibility. It's a little easier to get in and out of this car as well. Clutch is a little bit more forgiving for just kind of normal use. So it has some of that aspect to where it's a toned down car. It's not as pinpointy, ready to take a racetrack turn and just be all about the driver experience. This car can feel pretty much like just a normal car that happens to have a lot of power and a manual if you want a manual. So this tones it down a lot, and if you're really not interested in refinements to where you want to feel like you're in a $60,000 car, this is still nice enough to where, you know, a $50,000 car, it's pretty good for the price point. I could see it being a little bit nicer, you know, better seats in here, but it's not bad for the price. So there is that aspect. And I think with the Z, you know, with modifications and things like that, that $6,000 can go a long way. If you really have a budget, you know, if you're really limited to where 60 grand is all you really want to put towards this car, but you want to modify your car, you go with the Z, because for $6,000 you can do bolt-ons, tune, suspension upgrades, wheels, and maybe even a bucket seat or something like that. So you can put money into this car and be under that $60,000 mark. On top of that, I think with the Supra, with its sport mode, how everything stiffens up and sharpens up, if you're not really gonna be pushing your car all too much, I do mountain trips a lot. I push the car pretty hard, not everything I show on camera what I do in the car, but I use all of the potential. Even my GTR with 700 horsepower, I use that thing on the street and in the mountains. If you're really just maybe getting on the highway, you know, doing some accelerations and just kind of driving around town, having some minor fun with the car, not going crazy with performance driving, why pay more for something you're not going to use? So I can totally see that aspect as well for people who are going to buy the Z over the Supra. Save yourself $6,000. You can throw a few performance parts on it, be under that $60,000 mark, and it's going to give you all you ever need. You have enough tech to be a normal car. So I can see that aspect for sure. So I think the Supra comes into play. If you're really going to use that extra bit of performance that it offers, you would absolutely spend more money on it. And for me, you know, no matter which car I bought, I was going to do the same mods, I was going to put the same money down, I was going to make the same payment regardless. So to me, the price point didn't actually make any difference. You know, I was still going to overpay the payment no matter what it was, so it wouldn't make a difference, that extra $6,000. And of course, I was still going to do all the same modifications to where the Supra's better off the line. My Supra versus my Z, the Supra would always be better because I was going to do the exact same things to it. So that was my take on going for the Supra. I wanted the extra refinements and I wanted a better car to start with, so I was okay with dropping the extra money on it. This car, the Nismo is the one that I want. This one, the performance, it's just too soft. It doesn't give me that wow factor, especially coming from my 2016 Nismo edition. This car is much softer than what my Nismo was, so this kind of felt like a step back for me from going from the Nismo into this car. So to me, I think they just didn't put enough extra wow factor parts in the Z Performance to where I would have bought it over the Supra. And when the Nismo comes out, that is a car that I do want to buy, because honestly, this just is a softer version of what a Supra can be, which makes sense for the price. The Nismo is going to be the one that's hardcore, that gives me the wow factor. I'm sure it's going to have the bucket seats, better suspension capabilities to where it even feels like a Supra, but more hardcore, and has none of the refinements, luxury aspects to it. I'm okay with sacrificing the refined interior for a more track-focused feeling car. So for me, my own personal taste, obviously everybody's taste is different. The Z Performance just was never hardcore enough for me to want to go for it, and the Supra had everything I could ask for, and the price difference just didn't really make a big difference. All right, so we are back from driving in the Nissan Z Performance back to back with my Toyota Supra. So things I like about the Supra that are better than the Z: it is very refined, very nice feeling. The seats are incredibly comfortable and supportive. Manual transmission, super notchy, very engaging, and the handling, this thing handles insane. Things that are better on the Z: it is a little bit more roomy, better visibility, better storage solutions. It's a little bit easier to drive in the sense of the manual's a little bit more forgiving if you're gonna be driving this as like your normal daily driver. So I think the biggest thing, if you want a true performance car that you're gonna be hitting the track, hitting the mountains, and you really wanna be engaged, full throttle, just kind of going really high performance driving, Supra is significantly better. And it's super refined to give you that BMW quality, that really nice drive. If you're gonna really just kind of stay around town, a couple highway pulls, straight line acceleration, you know, go for the Z. It's cheaper, a little bit easier to get in and out of, has the extra storage, plenty of power, and you know, you got a $6,000 window to put some mods on it to make it even faster. So I think that's the biggest difference between the two. I love my Supra, it certainly fits my taste, and the Nismo Z, when that comes out, I think that's gonna be the one that works for what I want. So that is gonna wrap it up for today's video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.